In the bustling town of Lush Valley, there lived a woman everyone knew, but no one truly knew. Her name was Ema Beauty. And yes, the name fit. Or at least, that's what people believed. The woman who never sweated. Ema Beauty never sweated. Not at weddings. Not under the scorching sun. Not even when the power went out and everyone else was fanning themselves like roasted chickens. Her makeup? Always intact. Perfect. Untouchable. Women whispered. Has she imported Lady Gaga's foundation? Is it magic? Is it glued? Men admired from a distance. And Chris, her husband, was both fascinated and confused. Long before marriage, before the big house, the estates, and the whispered admiration, there was curiosity, and Chris had it in dangerous amounts. Chris first saw Ema at an orphan children charity event. She stood across the room, glowing under soft golden lights, surrounded by people who laughed a little too loudly at her jokes. She didn't just walk. She floated. Chris, holding a glass of juice he forgot to drink, whispered to his friend. "Who is that?" "That," his friend said. "That's Ema Beauty." "Beauty?" Chris muttered. "That's an understatement." He gathered courage and walked toward her. "Hi, I'm Chris." She turned, smiled, and for a brief second, something about her eyes felt guarded. "Ema," she replied softly. Their hands touched. And just like that, something began. Chris planned their first date perfectly. Outdoor restaurant. Candlelight. Soft music. But nature had other plans. Halfway through dinner, thunder cracked. Rain poured like the sky had been waiting all year. People laughed, ran, danced in the rain. Chris grinned. "Come on, let's enjoy it." Ema froze. Her smile stiffened. I don't like rain." "Who doesn't like rain?" He laughed. "It's romantic." Before she could respond, a drop landed on her cheek. Then another. Panic flashed across her face. "Chris, I need to go. Now." She stood abruptly.
Come on, dance with me in the rain.
Are you serious?
Chris
It's pouring.
confused,
It'll be fun, I
flushing
promise.
wet, and holding 2 unpaid bills. Later that night, he replayed the moment. Why did rain scare her like that? As their relationship grew, so did Chris's confusion. Every time he suggested spending the night together, Ema had an excuse. "I have an early meeting. My aunt is visiting. I need to reorganize my closet." Overnight, it's a very emotional closet. Chris started noticing patterns. She always left before midnight. Always arrived perfectly made up. Never stayed long enough to be seen, naturally. One evening, Chris decided he'd had enough. He invited her over for dinner. Cooked himself. Bad idea. The chicken was burnt. The rice was confused. But Ema laughed. And for a moment, she looked relaxed. Comfortable. Real. As the night deepened, she leaned back on the couch. Her eyes closed. She fell asleep. Chris froze. This is it. He slowly leaned closer. Heart pounding. This was his chance to finally see her without the layers. He reached for a tissue. And just as his fingers got close, Emma's eyes snapped open. Wide. Alert. Terrifying. Chris jumped back like he had seen a ghost. "You were going to wipe my face," she said calmly. It wasn't a question. Chris stammered. I thought you had something on your cheek." She sat up. Smiled. "Too quickly. I should go home." At 10:17 p.m., Chris sat there, staring at the burnt chicken. "Something is definitely wrong," he whispered. Still determined, Chris planned another accidental exposure. This time, a pool date. No rain, he told himself. Controlled environment. Ema arrived, stunning as always. Sunglasses. Hat. Long flowing cover-up. Chris smiled. "Ready to swim?" Ema laughed lightly. "I told you. I don't swim." "But you said emotionally." "I've grown since then." Before he could respond, a group of children ran past them and splash. Water sprayed everywhere. A few droplets touched Emma's arm. She gasped like she had been electrocuted. "I need a towel." 3 towels later, she was dabbing her arm like it was made of glass. Chris stared. "It's just water." She forced a laugh. "Yes, dangerous water." One evening, Chris invited her over again. This time, no experiments, just conversation. But fate had plans. Suddenly, darkness. The power went out. The entire house went black. Chris chuckled nervously. "Well, this is new." Silence. "Ema." No response. "Ema." He reached out blindly and felt nothing. She was gone. Just gone. Moments later, his phone buzzed. A message. "I had to leave. Call you tomorrow." Chris stared at the message. Then at the door. Then back at the message. How did she even find the door in the dark? Weeks passed. Chris began observing smaller things. Her lipstick never smudged. Not after eating. Not after drinking. Not even after accidentally biting into a chili pepper and almost crying. One day he tested it. "Try this," he said, handing her a greasy piece of roasted meat. She hesitated, then carefully, strategically, ate it like a scientist handling a dangerous experiment. Not a single stain. Chris leaned back. This is not normal human behavior. Finally, one evening, Chris decided to ask directly, "Emma, why don't you ever let me see you without makeup?" Silence filled the room. She looked at him. Really looked. For a moment, her eyes softened, like she was about to tell him everything. But then, she smiled. Because mystery keeps love alive. Chris frowned. Or creates confusion. She laughed. Changed the topic. And just like that, the truth slipped away again. Then came the night that changed everything. Chris woke up at 3 a.m. Thirsty. Suspicious. Curious. He walked quietly toward the living room. And there she was. Emma. Sitting. Fully made up. At 3 a.m. Not moving. Not blinking enough. Just existing. Chris nearly screamed. "Emma, why are you awake?" She blinked slowly. "I was waiting for morning." Chris stared. Heart racing. Mind spinning. That was the moment he knew. This wasn't just mystery. This was a secret. A big one. But beneath the flawless layer was a story no one saw. At just 3 months old, Emma had been left at a children's home. Not because she was unloved, but because she was feared. Large birthmarks spread across her face. Marks her family believed would bring shame, or worse, the curse. Villagers talked. Her parents panicked. And one quiet morning, they left her behind. And now, that hidden past was slowly catching up to her. Emma grew up tough. Not the loud, aggressive kind of tough, but the quiet, watchful kind. The kind that learns early how to read people's eyes. The kind that notices when smiles are fake. The kind that understands, without being told, that the world can reject you before it even knows you. She became sharp-minded. Every word she spoke was measured. Every move calculated. And beneath it all, she carried one silent promise. Never again. Never again would she be abandoned. Never again would she be pitted. Never again would she be seen as different. So she built herself. Carefully. Deliberately. Makeup became her shield. Not just powder and lipstick, but protection. Layer after layer, she crafted a version of herself the world could accept. A version no one would question. Perfection became her armor. And slowly, it worked. Years later, fate brought Chris into her life. He was different from anyone she had ever met. Warm, curious, persistent, too persistent. Where others admired her beauty and kept their distance, Chris leaned closer, asked questions, not just about what she liked, but why. Not just about where she came from, but who she was. It unsettled her. And yet, she couldn't stay away. Their love grew like something unstoppable, messy at times, confusing, deep. And together, they built more than just a relationship. They built an empire. Land stretched as far as the eye could see. Houses stood tall, modern, elegant, intimidating. Businesses flourished under their names. People talked. They are blessed. They are powerful. They are perfect. They became known across the region as the golden couple. But even gold, no matter how bright it shines, can still hide cracks beneath the surface. And Emma knew that better than anyone. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind where the sun feels lazy, stretching slowly across the land, painting everything in warm gold. Emma stood on the balcony of their main house, overlooking their vast estate. Workers moved in the distance. The wind carried the soft rustle of crops. For a moment, everything felt peaceful, until a guard approached hurriedly. "Madam, there are visitors at the gate." Emma frowned slightly. "Visitors? We don't know them. They say it's important." Chris joined her, adjusting his watch. Probably another business proposal. They walked down together. But what they found was not what they expected. At the gate stood an elderly couple. Their clothes were worn. Dust clung to their feet. Their hands, rough, tired, and trembling slightly, told stories of years of hard labor. But their eyes carried something stronger than exhaustion. Hope. The old man stepped forward slowly, removing his hat as a sign of respect. His voice was calm, but fragile. "We are not here to beg," he said. Chris crossed his arms slightly, cautious. Then why are you here? He asked. The man swallowed. We only asked for a chance. A pause. A small piece of land where we can farm. Just enough to feed ourselves. Nothing more. Silence settled. The kind that stretches long enough to make people uncomfortable. Chris glanced at Emma. He was already calculating. Who are they? Can they be trusted? What if others come next? What if this becomes a problem? But Emma wasn't thinking about any of that. She was staring at the woman. Something about her felt familiar. Not her face, not her voice, but something deeper. A feeling she couldn't explain. Then, without hesitation, "You'll have it," Emma said. Chris turned sharply. Just like that. Emma didn't even look at him. Yes. Emma. She finally turned, calm and steady. Kindness doesn't need a meeting. The old couple exchanged shocked glances. Tears filled the woman's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. And just like that, a simple act of kindness set something much bigger into motion. A few days later, the couple returned. But this time, they were not alone. With them was a young woman. And from the moment she stepped onto the land, everything changed. Her name was Peace. But there was absolutely nothing peaceful about her. Peace moved like a whirlwind. Before anyone could even show her where to start, she had already started. Digging, planting, organizing tools, giving unsolicited instructions. That line is not straight," she shouted at one worker. "Are we farming or drawing zigzags?" The workers blinked, then laughed. Within hours, she had done the work of 5 people. By evening, 10. But what truly made her unforgettable was her conversations, especially with chickens. One afternoon, a farm worker found her standing in the middle of the field, hands on her hips. In front of her, a single chicken. They were staring at each other. "You," Peace said firmly, pointing at it. "Yes, you. Don't pretend you don't understand me." The chicken tilted its head. The worker froze, unsure whether to interrupt. "You walk around all day eating for free," Peace continued. "Me? I dig. I sweat. I suffer." The chicken clucked. "Oh, now you're answering back?" she snapped. "Listen carefully. You contribute eggs. I contribute labor. Respect me." The chicken flapped its wings and ran off. Peace folded her arms proudly. "Exactly. Know your place." The worker burst out laughing. Word spread quickly. Soon, everyone on the farm knew. Peace was hardworking, but also slightly unpredictable. Despite her chaos, something about Peace brought life to the land. Workers arrived earlier, laughed more, worked harder. Even Chris noticed. "She's unusual," he admitted one evening. Emma smiled faintly. "She's alive," she replied. But as Emma watched her from a distance, there was something else. A strange pull. A connection she couldn't explain. Almost like a memory trying to wake up. Among all the workers, one person paid special attention to Peace. Otis. Young, observant, quiet. He noticed how hard she worked, how deeply she felt things, how her laughter sometimes hid something heavier. And one afternoon, under the shade of a tree, he decided to talk to her. Neither of them knew that this simple conversation would soon shake Emma's world completely. The afternoon sun hung lazily over the estate, casting long golden shadows across the farmland. Peace and Otis sat under a large mango tree, both exhausted from the day's work. A soft breeze passed, carrying the scent of fresh soil and harvested crops. In the distance, a stubborn chicken strutted like it owned the land. Peace wiped sweat from her forehead, using the edge of her scarf. "Your boss," she said, catching her breath. "She's different." Otis chuckled. "You have no idea." They both laughed. For a moment, everything felt light, normal. Then, something shifted. Peace's laughter faded. Her eyes drifted into the distance, like she was looking at something far beyond the fields. "I had a sister," she said quietly. Otis turned, immediately attentive. "A sister?" he asked gently. Peace nodded slowly. "She was taken away when she was just a baby." Otis frowned. "Taken? What?" Peace hesitated. Her fingers dug into the soil beside her. "She looked different," she said. She had large birthmarks on her face. The wind seemed to pause. "People in our village said she brought bad luck, that she was a curse." Otis sat up straighter. "Our parents hid her from visitors," Peace continued. "They were afraid, ashamed." Her voice cracked slightly. But one day, she was gone. Silence. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Peace looked up at the sky, blinking back tears. "We've been searching for her for years," she whispered. "She should be around 25 now." Otis felt a sudden chill run through him, not from the breeze, but from something deeper, something familiar. He swallowed hard. Do you remember her face? He asked. Peace shook her head slowly. No, I was too young. Then she laughed softly, trying to lighten the weight of her own words. But I would know her somehow. Otis didn't laugh, because deep down, something about that story didn't sit right. That evening, the sky turned a deep shade of blue as lights flickered on across the estate. Inside the main house, Emma and Chris sat in the living room. Soft music played in the background. A calm, perfect evening. Until Otis burst in, breathing heavily. There's something you need to hear, he said. Chris looked up, slightly annoyed. Otis, this better be important. It is, he replied. Emma turned slowly. Let him speak, she said. Otis began narrating. Every word, every detail. Peace, the sister, the birthmarks, the abandonment. At first, Chris listened carefully. But Emma didn't move. Her fingers tightened around the glass in her hand. Her knuckles turned white. Her breathing became uneven. Her eyes changed. What started as calm attention turned into something else. Recognition, fear, truth, rising to the surface. And she said the baby had large birthmarks. Stop. Emma's voice cut through the room like a blade. Silence. Thick, heavy, unavoidable. Chris stood immediately. Emma, what's going on? She didn't respond. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Her hands trembled. Then slowly, she lifted them to her face. Chris frowned. Emma? But she had already begun. Wiping. Slowly. Carefully. Layer by layer. Foundation. Powder. Concealer. Years of hiding, disappearing with every motion. The room held its breath. Otis didn't blink. Chris's heart pounded loudly in his ears. And when the final layer was gone, silence exploded. There it was. Her real face. Marked. Beautiful. Unhidden. Her voice broke. And that child. Chris stepped back slightly. Not out of rejection, but because his entire world had just shifted. Emma, he whispered. All this time? She nodded, tears streaming freely now. Outside, Peace sprinted past the window, chasing a very determined chicken. Otis blinked, then rushed outside. Peace. Come now. She stopped mid-chase. Just come. Peace entered the house, slightly out of breath. What's so urgent? She stopped. Her eyes locked onto Emma. The room faded. Everything slowed. Her gaze moved slowly across Emma's face. The birthmarks. The tears. The trembling. Something inside her recognized something. Something deeper than memory. Sister? She whispered. Emma nodded, unable to speak. That was all it took. Peace ran forward. Emma met her halfway. They collided into each other, holding on like they were afraid this moment might disappear. Years of separation. Pain. Loss. All breaking, all healing in a single embrace. Chris wiped his eyes quietly. Otis didn't even try to hide his tears. The next day, they drove to the elderly couple's home. The journey was quiet. Heavy. Emma stared out the window, her bare face reflecting in the glass. No makeup. No hiding. Just truth. Peace held her hand tightly. We're almost there, she whispered. The car stopped. The small house stood quietly ahead. Worn. Simple. But filled with memories. The door creaked open. The elderly couple stepped out. They froze. Their eyes widened. Their bodies trembled. Emma stepped forward slowly. No makeup. No mask. No fear. Just truth. Their lost daughter, standing before them. Alive. Successful. Whole. The mother collapsed to her knees. The father followed. Tears poured uncontrollably. Forgive us, they cried. We were afraid. We were wrong. Emma stood still for a moment. Years of pain flashing through her mind. Abandonment. Loneliness. Hiding. Silence. Then slowly, she walked forward and lifted them up. I spent my whole life hiding, she said softly. Because of what you feared. They wept harder. But I don't want to live like that anymore. She smiled gently. I forgive you. That evening, the small home transformed. Neighbors gathered. Food was prepared. Music played. Laughter returned. Peace danced wildly, pulling Otis along, who clearly had no idea what he was doing. Chris sat beside Emma, watching her. Really watching her. No layers. No mystery. Just her. You're beautiful, he said softly. Emma smiled. For the first time, I believe that. Her parents watched from a distance, holding hands, grateful for a second chance they never thought they'd have. The night filled with joy and healing. Back at the estate, everything changed. Emma no longer hid. She walked freely, barefaced, confident, unafraid. Chris finally stopped trying to catch her, though he still wakes up at 3 a.m. sometimes, just to check. Old habits die hard. Peace became part of the home, still arguing with chickens like it's a full-time job. And Otis? Well, let's just say, he now has very strong reasons to visit often. Very strong reasons. Ema Beauty was never defined by her makeup, not by her scars, not by her past, because sometimes the things we hide the most are the very things that lead us back to love, to family, and to ourselves. Therefore, the lesson here shows that true beauty is not perfection, it is authenticity. Fear can destroy families, but truth can rebuild them. And no matter how far life takes you, what is meant for you will always find its way back.